How is everybody doing? Tonight, we're going to go all over the map, and we are going to talk a lot about the coaching carousel in college football. We're going to talk some assistants that are getting hired in and around the sport. We'll talk a little bit of transfer portal news. So really, the first place where we're going to start is we're going to start the coaching carousel, and we're going to talk about the University of Washington. So the University of Washington, coming off of a national championship season, their AD of the past was Jen Cohen, I believe. She's no longer there, but the University of Washington goes out there and they hire Jedd Fisch. Now, the thing is about Jedd Fisch is I'm going to read you, his Wikipedia Jedd Fisch, and then I'm going to let you know about this hire, right? The thing is about Jedd that is impressive is I didn't even think he would be that successful at Arizona. So he started off like 1-11. I think the team lost 12 straight before that. Then with Jayden de Laura, things started to click in year two. Their offense was very, very explosive, and they had a great staff. Like, they hired Brennan Carroll. They had Johnny Nansen run that defense. It was an aggressive style defense. Great staff. As an in-game coach, he's pretty decent as an in-game coach. He's a good play caller. Good offensive guy with the quarterbacks, and was a head coach a couple of years. And Washington was looking at Lance Leipold, and Lance Leipold said no to the job. And then they decided to go out there, and they decided to go out and hire Jedd Fisch. So I think that if you're Washington, the one person that you would want to, see play and play for about 3 years is probably Austin Mack. Because Austin Mack has potential like Justin Herbert NFL potential. I mean, if a 6'6" mobile quarterback with a big arm, if he's a successful quarterback in college, he's going to be an absolute monster. All right, you look at Herbert, you look at Josh Allen. If you're 6'5", really mobile, have a what's it called, like a throwing motion that is repeatable, you're going to be an NFL quarterback. You're going to be one of the best quarterbacks in football. That's where this game is going, and Austin Mack has some of the most rare traits. So if I were Washington, I would have hired somebody that definitely would be staying at Washington and would be there for the long haul. And the guy that I would have hired at Washington is Ryan Grubb, because Ryan Grubb was there under Deboer. So the locker room knows Ryan Grubb and already respects him. And a lot of the players that are at Washington know about Ryan Grubb. And Ryan Grubb has been asking and wanted this opportunity. He's just as much of a grinder as Kalen DeBoer. And I believe that Ryan Grubb would be shown the loyalty from Washington. And I believe that Ryan Grubb would be the guy for the future that would also really, really stay loyal to Washington and actually build their program over a multitude of years. Now, truth be told, I do like Oregon. I do like Dan Lanning. I'm pumped at Dan State, and Dan's been my favorite coach in college football. Even when he was the DC at Georgia, I loved the Lanning story. And so I was on that from the ground floor. I've been a Lanning fan. Kalen DeBoer was fantastic at Washington. They had a great quarterback there. Wide receivers were unbelievable. At Arizona, I'll give Jedd Fisch credit. That was a really tough job. And then he not only got one good quarterback, but also Noah Fafita. He's really developed quarterback. Now, we look at Jedd Fisch's overall career. He was with the Patriots. He was an offensive coordinator in 2019, I believe, with Sean McVay still there. So UCLA. The guy went to Florida. And, of course, Washington fans have noted in the comments that if Billy Napier doesn't get it done this year, then Jedd Fisch could very well be in line for a Florida job. And he also is an East Coast guy growing up in New Jersey. So he does leap. He's leapt up the coaching profession. I'm going to tell you one thing about Jedd Fisch, though, that people need to be aware of in this process. But to me, I was so impressed with Ryan Grubb. I think he's a good enough leader. You could have issues with him as a CEO, but still, I don't know if there's this much of a difference between Grubb and Fisch. But this is why I think Fisch took the job. And first of all, Deboer did such a terrific job, like getting him to the national championship, that it's not Deboer was so successful, it's never easy to replace real success. But the thing that I'm going to say is that Arizona, the University of Arizona, was having financial problems, in that they owe a lot of money and a lot of loans that are publicly out there. I think it might be around $200 million loan or something, that they've miscalculated their funds greatly. So the school, I never take pleasure in any of this, I'm just reporting the news. The school is not in a great financial standing. And that could mean a lot about what Jedd Fisch is, that could mean a lot with what Jedd Fisch is experiencing and for his family and what they're experiencing. I think that Tucson is a beautiful place to live. I think that the Big 12, you can be a big fish in a medium-sized pond in the Big 12, and you have your players and you have everything and you could get it rolling, but your contract, the money could come in here and be a huge factor. I think Washington, of course, is like a decent place to recruit to. The resources are getting better and better. So the job is a decent job. Now, you are going to have to travel a lot. You're in the footsteps of Oregon. I would have really liked for Jedd to stay at Arizona. And if I was personally a coach, it would have taken, I think I would have stayed at Arizona, because it's just, you could golf there. The weather's incredible. Seattle is a fun city as well, but at Arizona, you're building something. You have a great team. You have great returning players. Your culture seems to have overturned. You finished 10-3 with really big wins, over Oregon State. They might have beaten UCLA in that process. They also went out there and they handled Oklahoma, and you have a bunch of guys that are in-state on that roster, and you're recruiting pretty well. You were setting yourself up well, unless the school was going to go totally under financially. You could have even waited it out theoretically, but I guess we're not going to be privy to those details. So again, Jedd Fisch is going there. I think it's an all right hire for Washington. I definitely should rate it higher. I fought for Arizona. It wasn't a good hire because Jedd Fisch had never really been an offensive coordinator. He worked with Cam Newton. I know he worked with McVay, but he's bounced around everywhere. I didn't see him like really recruiting Arizona and being a very good college coach, but I clearly was wrong. I will tell you guys if I am wrong on this show. It's not always the best thing to do from a podcasting perspective. People want to listen to real confidence, okay, and borderline, okay, I know what I'm talking about. But Jedd Fisch, I predicted that it wouldn't go great at Arizona, and the odds were stacked against him. So he was inherently a success. Now, I know he wasn't there for a while, but he definitely was a success. I thought if I were Washington, Leipold was interesting because I think Lance would have stayed loyal and built you a good brand. I thought that they were going to get Leipold. Matt Campbell was out there in the process. There were a couple of fired coaches, guys, that, their public reputation is so down that they're not going to get jobs anytime soon. That is unfortunate for them. Now, maybe they did things that were abhorrent. Again, so you guys can, I guess, figure out those names. Kind of want people to get a second chance. That's always been my MO, but we'll see what happens with some of those guys that were let go because of scandal. All right. But anyway, we have Jedd Fisch Arizona going to Washington, I would have went Ryan Grubb, and Grubb would have kept the guys. The offense would have continued to roll. He's paid his dues exactly like Kalen Deboer. You hired a Fresno State offensive coordinator. You could have dang well hired you could have hired your offensive coordinator, just took you to a national championship.